So next question. Just take us through the most challenging task you ever undertook. Let me break it into two. Biggest and most challenging. Because a lot of times people think it's the same. It's not the same. There are some tasks that are small but are very, very challenging, whereas there are some big tasks that are also challenging. So what would you say is the biggest task you've undertaken? Because I know there was one time you were working on cards. Cards, yeah.
I still work on cards.
It's your cards, and I remember that you spent a lot of time on that project.
Yes.
So tell us your most challenging task and your biggest task so far.
Okay. Well, I would say the most challenging task is actually the card management system.
Really? I just guessed it.
Yes. You're right. You know, with this fintech industry is so vast that you can get lost in it. So, and the speed at which innovations are coming up is just so crazy.
True. That's
So, working on a system as that, one of the things that one of the big major challenges there had always been, like I mentioned earlier, you have to write your code for regulatory compliance, for security, for scalability, all these things. So now, I didn't just have to write all of this. I had to integrate with legacy systems. And then sometimes when we roll out we may have tested and we're fine. And then you roll out, you still find out that there are cries all over. Like, hey, what's going on? And everything. And you're wondering, what did I just, what's going on? And you check and you can't find the problem. And it's not far-fetched from the fact that you need to also understand that you're not working with only the system you have built. You are not even only integrating with the system in the bank alone or in that organization, as the case may be. You have to integrate with even external systems. So when you find out that you are talking to too many parties just to achieve one goal, one party may be down, you will not know that is the cause of the entire failure. So you can spend a lot of time trying to troubleshoot and figure out what is going on before you finally are able to point at something. So that can be challenging actually, because imagine you doing that, and while troubleshooting and trying to figure out those things, you have to be careful so you don't break other things, and you have to be careful not to now create a loophole for somebody to take advantage of. So you just have to be on top of your game. You can't even afford to make a mistake. You understand? You do transaction on people's account with those cards. You cannot make a mistake. It is not acceptable. So you have to meticulously work on these things, pay careful, detailed attention to everything. So something happened recently on one of those systems, and it had to do with transaction as well. And I found out that I needed to adjust a part of the application that is responsible for handling transaction and make it flexible. That was no joke. It took me 2 weeks to crack it. Yes. So, but I was still able to crack it. And when we tested and they saw it working, everybody was like, yeah. But nobody knew
what
happened behind the scenes. So, and like I said, it's one of the things is you need to pay attention to details. You have to be very meticulous if you're working with such systems. If you mistakenly go and expose somebody's details, or you don't encrypt it properly and all of that, you find yourself in a big problem, because when that system is hacked, a proper system audit is carried out. They'll find out that your system was porous at one point or the other, and then they'll pick you out. So you know what next?
To the slaughterhouse.
Yes.
So, sorry, let me ask this question, because I think a couple of weeks ago,
yes,
the whole fintech engineering thing was also like really trending on Twitter.
Yes.
And people were coming out to talk about their woes,
Yes.
their tales of woe, working in the fintech space. One guy even mentioned that, see, your BP is already high. You have just not checked it yet.
I have a BP machine beside my bed. I had to do that.
So, and there's this guy that mentioned, I think it was even probably the guy that started the trend.
Yes.
That mentioned that from everything that you are seeing so far, that it feels that there needs to be this knowledge, this training for people that want to go into the fintech space or are already there. So that now makes me ask a question, like, this is a very the fintech space is a very guarded space. So it's not like,
it's like
other web space that would other places would just share information, this new framework, this thing, this and all that. How is information passed around in the fintech space? How is knowledge passed down? And how can we even make sure that this knowledge continues to be shared? Because of the security and all the NDAs that you sign, it is so difficult for this information. Because even when some of these issues happen, I know you guys have postmortem and to look at, okay, what went wrong, after putting out the fire, okay, we look at what went wrong so that we'll not do it again.
What did you do? How did you solve it? And all of that.
And all that. But all this, it's like all this knowledge rather, it just remains siloed in each organization, and people just die with it or some sort of way. So how is knowledge passed around, and how can we better pass knowledge around?
Okay.
Because, sorry, let me say something. Because I know that people don't want to really pass knowledge around, because, come on, Access Bank wants their to fail. So that I can get this customer. So why are we going to share our knowledge with their engineers? They fail. Now people will come to Access Bank.
To us,
so yeah, please, sorry.
Okay, actually, that's passing information around. I would say it will not work as you would think. Yes. So, like, what I know in the space also, of course, I'm not just going to let it out.
Sure.
Because, like you mentioned, I've signed NDAs and all of that. So I'm not going to be exposing another person's system to you.
True.
No matter what it is, because it has legal implications on me.
Yeah.
So I'm legally obligated to keep their secret.
Definitely. Because even as some people are watching this, they will be taking notes.
So
some people are watching for malicious purposes. No, coding for a bank. Let me watch so that I can know.
I'm watchful of the information I'm giving out. So
definitely.
Every information I'm giving out here, I can assure you, it will not. You would have an idea of what is happening in the space.
Yeah.
But you cannot use it to go and hack
anybody.
It won't work. It doesn't work that way.
It's all surface level.
So the thing is that the information, one of the things that helps is this: you need to know experts, people in those fields.
Okay.
You have to relate with them. So they may not still give you all the information, but when they see your interest, when they see that, okay, this person, like for me, I did a lot of learning on the job.
Okay.
Because I work with someone that is actually deeply rooted into the space and understands the system.
Okay.
So he saw my interest and he carried me along. So as I'm working also, we engage clients and all, and you sign NDAs, they feel freer to now give you those informations and all of that. So if you want to do a fintech stuff now, and you want to know the nitty-gritty of what happens, I will not tell you. I would rather you engage me as a consultant. I help you solve the problem. You still don't have to know everything. Because I'm using somebody's knowledge idea to solve the problem, which I can't just hand over to you. So, but in some cases, what people do is that they go to employ experts to just come and take over the whole system while they face maybe other parts of the whole development, or maybe the business angle and all of that. But you can't just get that information freely. And I can tell you one thing, in the fintech space, it operates like a cult. It's not a cult, but it operates like such.
Sure, I know what you're talking about.
You ask people doing remittance, what is the flow that you did to get to this point? You won't find it.
They won't tell you.
I challenge you, go on Google and ask them. Ask Google, or go on ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. How do you I don't want to mention some things here because I'll be going too deep. So there are some things that ChatGPT will tell you that he is not permitted to give you that information. So how much more when you're dealing with a human? Because I've tried ChatGPT, like, okay, I want to know, can you tell me this? He said, because this thing is sensitive, you can't find that information anywhere.
So to just give you office things, same thing you can access publicly.
Exactly. So you need to go and look for financial experts who are developers who are actually into this thing.
System.
You know, some of them are also learnt the hard way. It's crude. So they learned the hard way, and then you want them to just tell you. They won't tell you without you paying them for it.
So you have to be a disciple of someone.
Yes, it's easier that way.
That in fact, I would say that's a recommendation.
That's a recommendation.
Because you want to press point or press people's money. So you have to, because I like that angle. Like, you have to be called to the table.
Yes.
And be mentored.
Yes.
You know, and definitely I know that at the beginning stages, you have to run a lot of things through the expert before you implement it, before you go and...
He won't even allow you get to production.
So, I guess, it's just... Even we know fast food chains and everything, that their information, like KFC. KFC is not going to...
Exactly.
It's not going to... Their recipe is not going to be available.
It's not
to
available
anybody.
Anywhere.
So even there are even some of their executives that don't fly in the same plane together. All of you to go and crash, and and your secret is gone. Legally, they cannot fly in the same distance together. So yeah, that's your most challenging task. Should we say it's the biggest task? It was the biggest task too.
It's big actually, but that's not only. I've done a lot of big tasks, and I remembered I worked on financial applications, accounting systems, procurement systems. Okay. So those ones were really big.
Procurement. Oh my God.
So imagine the whole procurement flow.
RFP, RFC. Oh my God. locking bid.
So
oh my God.
And then you even have to automate that process of not just the locking, as in when people submit their bids, you have to make it secured until the day
of it, before it is decrypted.
And then imagine people that didn't go to school. You have to build a system. Yes, they have companies, but you have to build a system they can understand and relate to it.
Sure.
So
usable,
and then you get users from every angle, anywhere, anybody that just knows that they are giving out this, and then. Like for that procurement system, for instance, I remembered I had to do a lot of work with my team. Then we had to make it OCDS compliant.
Okay.
As these are open contracting data standard.
Okay.
OCDS, So because there's a standard across the world that is being adopted. So the World Bank encourages it and all of that. So it promotes transparency. So imagine you have to build a system that conforms to global standards. And this is Nigeria.
Yeah, let's
but
just say this is Nigeria.
we did it.
We are wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, I like procurement. I worked on a procurement startup, and oh my god, it was huge. We read a lot of stuff on procurement. Even I think we even had to work with a consultant.
Yes, you can't build these big systems without having domain experts.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Domain expert. So, and I was the lead. I was the lead on that project, but it was fun. It was really complex, but it's fun. It's fun. So one big issue that people have had with bank apps and fintech apps in Nigeria is performance.
Yes.
Performance issue. I think for me, the top fintech app for me has been PiggyVest. Even though I still feel I might be saying it as someone that is, a bit naive about what goes on there because I don't work at PiggyVest.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry. Only their engineers can know, but I feel PiggyVest is not so high frequency compared to something like Paystack, where a lot of day-to-day transaction goes on. But I know that PiggyVest also has a lot of jobs set up, like all these things that do
autosaving, locking of your funds.
Lock fund is not big now. You just lock fund, but like anyway. Autosave. Like imagine all of us are saving. Let's say they have like 2 million of us, yes. But most likely more. I have 2 million of us saving, and they have to trigger autosave at 2 p.m. for at least 25% of that particular user base. They have time that they used to. I don't think all of us are on the same time. Mine takes us at 2 p.m.
Yes.
But I don't think. But imagine they have 2 million users, and a quarter is 500,000. A quarter of that, 500,000 jobs at exactly 2 p.m. have to run. So yeah, day two they have some frequency, but unlike maybe a Paystack and this thing. So, but I still give them I feel PiggyVest has been able to be very scalable and solid amongst all the this thing. Then we have Paystack and the rest. But there will still be some each here and there. Like there was a time autosave. My autosave just stopped and it didn't perform for like 2 months. I even had to send a mail to PiggyVest. But we know especially with commercial Nigerian banks, yeah, the Zenith, in the order of the Hall of Fame standing, the Zenith, the Access banks.
Oh my God!
That people have. They need their engineers need to be saying God I beg every 5 minutes. Kind of courses that people
and
really
because of some of them, because of these challenges, their engineers are always changing.
Yeah, they have that as a challenge too.
It's a big problem.
So they have
So the new person may not know exactly. He will have to do trial and error before he is able to get a hold of.
I'm sure you have worked with some of them. You have seen some of them. Yeah. So how do banks scale? And also, what do you think? What would you say has been the root cause or one of the major causes of all these performance issues we have with especially Nigerian commercial bank apps? We know the fintechs they try a lot, maybe probably because they are new. They want us to accept them. They want us to use them. The banks already they own us,
and then they don't have the volume yet.
And they are exactly true. They don't have the volume yet because banks are dealing with mad volume.
Yes.
So, what do you think? How do they scale? How do banks scale typically? And what do you think has been the main cause? Like you just talked about people leaving, people coming.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, what?
Okay, so there are lots of things that the banks and the fintechs actually do to scale, and the reason why they need to scale is because there's usually increased workloads due to more customers using the system,
Definitely,
one way or the other, and then the transaction volume. So imagine you're dealing with millions of customers or millions of transactions per time, you need good infrastructure
Definitely
for you to be able to handle all of those transactions. So infrastructure scaling is very key. And we all know there are different types of infrastructure scaling. So like the horizontal scaling and the vertical scaling.
Sure.
The horizontal, you increase the number of servers you have. The vertical, you increase the power of the resources. So those things are critical. There are stages you get to, you find out that the horizontal scaling is not what you need. Sometimes you find out that the vertical scaling is not what you need. So you need to understand the situation so that you'll be able to adopt the right strategy to use when scaling your infrastructure. So that one is very important. Now, and I also found out that especially fintechs, especially, one of the reasons why their solutions are able to scale even with their large user base, like you mentioned, PiggyVest and all of that, is that most of them use cloud solutions.
So fintechs is
a lot
cloud solution.
Majority, if not all, they use cloud systems.
True.
So, and using cloud solutions actually helps you to scale. You only pay for what you use. It even helps them save money.
I can tear down and spin up
exactly
as needed.
But it requires special expertise also for you to be able to manage them. However, our regular traditional banks have these, must buy this box before this thing works. Yeah, I understand that. I understand their regulatory restrictions and all of that. And then they don't want to put people's data out there just in case of any
security concerns.
Exactly. So, but I know that some of them are also adopting these this hybrid system of having the physical boxes and mixing it with the cloud solutions as well to run their services, so that they can give you optimal service as a customer. So all those things actually come into play. So another way they scale is that you talked about handling like 2 million transactions and all of that. Now, how do they handle 2 million transactions? Now, you must have an optimized system, such that the architecture in which you use in building those solutions is optimized, such that you can now have APIs, or you build them as microservices, your modules or your functions as microservices, distributed microservices, such that they can talk to each other. They are independent of each other. When this guy fails, you know that the whole system is not going down.
Redundancy.
Thank you. So you take care of all of those things. So when you use microservices, you can achieve this. Now, when you do a single transfer, account to account transfer, a lot of things happen. And how do they happen? Is these microservices, once you initiate it from your ends, the system picks it up, and one guy, so most times how it is done is that one guy is responsible for maybe doing name inquiry, another one will now go on. So you would just have a way whereby you have your system, you segment the activities happening and make it easy for the system to be able to process that volume of transaction. So if you don't do that, you'll find out that most times your system will be entering, you want to do a transaction. I'm sure you've been trying to use some systems in the past, maybe like some internet banking systems and all, and you're trying to do a transfer. You see that guy is just rolling like forever. Then after some time, the thing will tell you failed or timed out. And yes, it has timed out. You receive debit alert telling you failed. So they need to optimize the system for them to be able to handle those kind of activities efficiently, such that when this thing reaches this time, I want you to terminate this service, hand it over to this guy, let this guy take it up and reverse whatever has happened.
I think
You know,
there's this architectural pattern called compensating transaction.
exactly. Yes.
Like once something fails in an acid kind of transaction chain,
yes.
the compensating transaction should roll back all the ones that succeeded
one by one.
Yeah.
So when people see the joy I have when I do that kind of transaction and it goes and I see an immediate reversal of my money,
Like,
knows no bound.
it gives you more confidence
to use the system that don't worry, they will reverse my money even if it didn't go through.
True.
But sometimes these things don't happen that way. So one of the things that can help is continuous optimization of their systems. You know, it will help them to scale properly.
Like from what you said now, like what I'm picking is number one, decompose the functions.
Exactly.
Don't pile everything in one place. Use the microservices approach to decompose the function.
Yes.
Then each function, scale it horizontally.
Exactly.
So that there's redundancy with each function, because you're going to be handling a lot of load.
You handling a lot, and you don't want this guy to be waiting for this guy. There are situations where you need to wait. Yes. But you would have had in your implementation, you would have known how you're going to pass the result of one implementation to the other, and so you can use it to easily form a chain. While this one is carrying out the next task, this guy can take on new tasks and be doing, and then to just be passing it across.
Optimize the distance.
So that's why you see when you're working in a factory, when people that work in a factory, everybody has what he does, as little as it is.
Yeah.
Somebody's job is just to put the lid on top of something. So it doesn't do anything more than that. Another person.
Sometimes there are 5 of them
doing the same thing. So once you're able to put that kind of system in place, because of the volume you are actually handling, then it's going to be a lot easier for you.
Like I like the point. I like the industrial point you made, because I think there was a time I saw in one of the architectural materials I was reading that the guy actually mentioned that we have solved scalability. Like if you look at industries, you will see that we have solved scalability. Exactly. If you look at their systems, how they do their things, you can learn a lot from there. So okay. Now I don't believe that the current engineers in these banks are dumb. I believe they know what to do. So what drags the implementation? Because sure, we might have all these good ideas, but we all know it's not easy to implement new technologies or new systems. So what do you think drags the adoption of these more scalable strategies?
Okay, so one of the things that drags some of these things is that the management may not understand what you're saying. So there's this issue of everybody being on the same page. Yes, they identify that there's a problem, and you're telling them that, okay, we need to destructure this module to work in this way. And then the security people will come and say, can you guarantee us that a lot of bottlenecks start coming into play and all, and then the guy is like, oh, I can't stress myself much. So what I will do is so what I will do is let me just do a little optimization, but that is not the real solution you want to achieve. So you just do what you can do, and then sometimes too it's difficult because the kind of data you are dealing with and the way the system has been structured in the beginning. Yes, it can make it difficult to achieve.
True.
Because it may end up requiring you to break down everything and start afresh.
True.
So once you see that you have to do that and it will take a long time to get to where you are now again, you just like, okay, no, let's find another way to manage what we have.
Like I was going to say, like from a business analyst perspective,
yes,
I think sometimes a company might not want to decide to go on those kind of huge overhaul or huge re-engineering,
Yes.
if the percentage affected by the problem is tolerable.
Tolerable, exactly.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, it's a problem, but it only affects 5% of our user base.
So and that,
So
you
do we
can
want to
feel-
do?
Well, you. For me, I don't know. I don't know about others, but for me, one thing I like is that I like to build systems such that it is how do I call it? It is not as in I build it. I like building systems that I'll go and sleep and I'll sleep well. So from the beginning,
Yeah.
I'll be very critical about everything I'm doing so that because my goal is to be able to sleep well at night after it goes on production. So sometimes it's not about is it tolerable? What if the 5% that it's affecting that is not tolerable for are the high profile clients
True.
or customers?
Or do the biggest transactions.
The ones that do the biggest transactions. What happens? they feel your system is not efficient.
Yeah.
They look for another efficient system. So
True,
it's not just about they are tolerable, but a lot of things need to be considered.
Which is also part of what a business analyst should know.
Should know,
From his
exactly.
calculation. You should know, because if you are going to lose 0.001% on
Yes.
50 million, and you say it's okay,
Yes.
what if it affects 50 billion?
It's not okay.
It's not okay at that point. At that point, it's not.
Because imagine the stake you are just letting go.
I think go. So
So it's a lot.
I think it's like they said some jobs. I think it was Chris Rock that said it. One of his stand-up comedies. He said some jobs can't afford bad eggs.
No.
There's some jobs, like he said, like pilots. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't say, most of our pilots are very good, but we just have these 5% pilots that like to crash.
That are terrible. You know? And the same thing applies in the fintech space. Banking industry and fintech space.
Yeah.
You can't afford the bad eggs. That's why you see even the moment someone is indicted in a fraud or an unruly activity in carrying out transactions or even dealing with customers, the person's employment is terminated because you're not supposed to be doing that.
I even have
So
there's one of the banks I used. There was an error that took place, and
yes,
everybody in the chain of that error,
yes, we're sacked.
everybody, like, you are not even the one that really. Funny enough, I think the person that actually committed the thing has even absconded, but everyone that was in the trail got affected.
So you can't afford bad eggs in the industry as well.
So yeah, so scaling, like you've said.
But there are still some things in scaling. Actually, they do like databases. Now, when you're building systems, you know that in a bank or in the fintech, you're going to be dealing with large volumes of transactions. So you're working with databases. You need to be able to choose the right database to work with. And also, not just choosing them, you need to also perform the correct operations on them. Like caching, indexing, all those things. They make queries faster and all of that. So you need to have the right database and the right approach to use as well.
Now that you've mentioned databases, I want to just slide in a quick question. So there's this CAP theorem.
Yes.
Consistency, availability, and ability to partition.
Okay, yeah.
There's a P part, partition, consistency, availability, partition. So, and they say you can't have the three. That's the theorem. You can't have the three. So, in fintech apps, which two are being, you can have two, not three. Which ones are being prioritized? Consistency, availability, and the ability to partition your database.
Okay, it's actually going to be the consistency and availability.
Okay.
Because if you can find your way around the partitioning. But
sharding stuff.
if the database is not available, there's problem.
If it's
Transactions will be hanging.
and let's not even touch consistency.
Let's not even that one is undebatable. It's like you are breathing in oxygen. So that one you can't talk about.
Reserved.
So your
Yeah.
database must be available at all times.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, okay. This one is going to be more of the kind of questions that goes around that people argue about every day. MongoDB. There's MongoDB, which is no secure databases.
Yes.
MySQL,
Yes.
RDBMS, SQL Server.
Yes.
I know the one you are biased to because I've worked with you.
Yes.
But like, what will you say between NoSQL databases like MongoDB, like Cassandra and Dynamo, and RDBMS? Because the MySQL, MSSQL,
Yes.
and Postgres. Which one? A lot of people claim they know the answer, but which one are mostly used for financial transactions? And you are free to say it depends, because if I was like,
I'm actually going to
problem.
give a very diplomatic response.
Okay.
And it's still going to be correct.
Okay.
So, what happens is this: there are different requirements of your system.
Okay.
Now, those requirements are going to be the determinants of the kind of database you're going to adopt. You may even have to use more than one type of database so that you can achieve what's your goal.
Your goal.
Exactly. So, for instance, now you may pick an RDBMS to persist normal data, and you can pick a NoSQL database for logging.
True.
Makes your life a whole lot easier. So you just need to build a report around it so that maybe auditors want to see who logged in when, all those things. So you can do that. So it depends on the requirements of your system. So that's what you will use to determine, okay, I want to pick this database or I need to use this database. Because sometimes some information don't need to be too relational. You know that I don't need some things relational. I just want to keep this information somewhere. I just want to dump them somewhere. However, some persons feel that using these document databases and all of that too are easier. Now, on another case now, for DynamoDB, for instance, if you're using the AWS platform and you want to use the DynamoDB, it's very cost efficient.
True.
Compared to you using their RDBMS, spinning up all the those ones. If you don't know how to use them well, you will accrue a lot of cost for yourself. But DynamoDB doesn't require much.
Okay.
And you can spin up just one, and then you can keep a lot of things, a lot of information in a single database. I mean, DynamoDB table. You can do a lot of magic inside that place. So it depends on the requirement. If they say, we don't mind about the money, and once, but in most enterprise applications, the RDBMS are usually being used. Yes.
For their transaction capability.
Yes.
Thank you. I think we've done justice to that side. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the scale. We've gone down to talking about technologies and everything, because a lot of people have been watching this video and they were like, these people have not mentioned PHP, they have not mentioned Node.js, they've not mentioned at least we've said some of them now in the previous question. I will see. Funny enough, there's actually some of the questions that are on frameworks and stuff. So don't worry, just chill. We'll get there. So, but what if you say these are the things in commercial banks these days? These are the technological setups, technological decisions, personnel decisions, or whatever that they make that cause these performance issues. What are you going to say they are?
Okay, so I mentioned one earlier. I talked about employees leaving and coming and all of that. That's a big problem. So I've seen scenarios where a tech person in the bank comes up with an idea, or even a business analyst comes with an idea, and he relates it to the tech guys. Oh, let's implement this to improve our services and all of that. And then you now find out that after just a few months after, the tech guy or the business analyst needs to move, and he leaves the bank,
like Japa, or maybe
Japa or
go and start his own thing, or
so, and goes away. That idea has started, it's in the pipeline.
okay,
who will see it to completion? You need to bring somebody again. He doesn't understand fully what's going on.
And you've seen this happen
Countless times. So it's a normal thing that happens around. So with this is a problem. So a lot of banks are not able to sustain some of their innovations because of this.
Okay.
So I think if they need to look into it critically, and if they could devise maybe a framework for especially those guys that are driving their innovation through technology, they may need to find a framework that works for them.
Or just pay them better.
Yeah, or pay them better. Yeah, it's part of the framework, because I'm sure if some of them are well paid and they're not disgruntled, I'm very sure they will be dedicated and they will not just be jumping around.
True.
Then another problem also is that people find themselves sometimes some of the problems are not entirely the bank's problem also.
Okay.
Sometimes people find themselves in places where networks are not good,
Okay.
or they use outdated devices. Imagine someone using Android 8 when the app was built with Android 12.
12 in mind.
And then they sent an update and asked you to update. But because your phone is so outdated, you can't even update.
You can't step up.
So you are still using the old buggy app. So it's also going to be a problem. So I'm trying to be balanced, because the problem is not entirely from the banks alone.
Like, old infrastructure.
Yes. So sometimes too, there are bugs that are not being checked before rolling out. That thing is
technical debt. We'll do it later.
Yes. Sometimes you just place something somewhere and you're like, when I'm done, I will uncomment this thing before, and then you forget and you put it there. And sometimes you have even done it carefully.
Okay.
You have even tested, but a use case can come up that you're not familiar with, or you never considered while building and doing what you're doing.
True.
And so you roll out, and some certain set of people start having those issues because they are simulating that same use case. And everybody starts shouting. They go on Twitter or everywhere and start shouting, and everybody.
Yes, I will complain.
Then some people will be like, but my own is going now. Yes, it's going because
you're not.
You don't fall under that use case.
Yeah.
So you find a lot of that happening. Then sometimes because of the volume too of transactions and all of that, some of the banks don't actually have the infrastructure, to handle these volumes.
Yeah.
So their servers become overloaded. Sometimes it crashes. So especially, you remember that cash crunch.
Oh my God.
So
that was dark times.
Those were dark.
A lot of banks were exposed to that time.
Yes. So those things happen as well.
Yeah.
And these are usually due to heavy traffic.
Yeah.
From users, concurrent users at the same time. Because at that time, why the problem was persistent was because a lot of people were desperate and they wanted to do one transaction or the other. So at all costs, they just wanted to do it. Even when they try it and the app is telling them no,
you try it again.
They will just
there was no cash now.
Trying it.
So you know, I think a lot of people there was a good split between cash transactions and online transactions. So they had enough infrastructure to carry the online transactions that were taking place. But then all the cash traffic
was failing.
Came to the online.
Exactly. So they started the online failing because even some apps were not opening.
No, at all. Like Don't worry. Never mind. Let's
So-
ever try it.
So sometimes too, like we talked about database earlier on too.
Yeah.
The queries you are writing, is it optimized?
M+1
Are you
problems.
thinking of when I want to pull my account statement, for instance?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of it that I may have done a lot of transactions that will require a lot of processing,
Yeah.
and you are not getting all the data for that report in one table? You have to touch a lot of
A lot of
tables.
tables.
What is your query like? So if you don't optimize such queries, you can actually run into problems.
Yeah.
Because the thing keeps trying to load because you didn't write an efficient
query.
So
True.
you're going to have problem.
True.
Then sometimes too, people, developers engage in bad development practices. Sometimes it's not just about I just write code, it's working. And that's what a lot of people do.
Sure.
Sometimes I see some codes and it's terrible. Spaghetti. When you start wondering what is happening here in a code, like you can't just look at it
It's not readable.
in a simple, you can't read it. So people follow bad practices. Sometimes they don't use good architectures that encourages scalability and performance. So you find out that at the end of the day, those applications, when they roll it out, it's always going to have problems. So the functionalities are not buggy, but it wasn't built to handle or to take care of what it is actually
certain
built
load.
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are problems. Then there's this problem, big problem, very big problem, and a lot of them may not know it, but I know it because of experience. Sometimes they do this this security, they overdo it. Sometimes they do it such that they even lock themselves out. I have seen it. So they now, okay, there's a problem. You put so much security and you locked yourself out. Yeah, come and solve the problem.
The same way
You're like, I can't even enter the system.
The same way GT Bank locked us out of our apps for 2 weeks.
So sometimes, yeah, it's good to carry out stringent security protocols, but you have to be strategic when implementing those stringent security protocols. Very important to implement them.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that you are doing them the right way.
True.
So that it doesn't impede performance, it doesn't impede usability, and it doesn't stop, as in prevent people from being able to do what they're supposed to do on the application. If you go and put security people cannot use, that is blocking many things. It's a problem.
Like the GT Bank stuff.
Yes.
I first spent 4 days
Yes.
trying to get OTP.
4 days to get OTP.
That was the first rodeo. 4 days to get OTP.
Oh.
Now spent another 1 week on the biometric part. I snapped myself in every part of this house. I kept looking for more light. More light. This thing will recognize my face. I know it's me. Let me enter. And definitely in their mind, they are trying to make it secure.
Secure, yes.
But I'm doing everything. It's me. I'm doing everything I needed to do, but I'm not getting in because of, I don't know whether it's because of services that you guys are relying on, or how smart those services are. Even like they were trying to do the whole facial stuff.
Okay, that's the identity, facial
identity. Facial identity. So the OCR algorithm they are using maybe is not it's not that sharp to capture face, and even the workflow was very, very
I think that
confusing.
That one will be related to the implementation, because most of these identity, some organizations that offer these identity services.
Yeah.
One of the things I notice a lot of them do is that they try to create a seamless way of using their service.
Yeah.
Such that you don't need to do anything much. You don't need any serious magic to actually do what you want to do.
Just plug and play.
Yes. So if they have gone to that extent to try and simplify things, and then a bank or an institution tries to use it and they are now having issues, they need to check their implementation.
True. Because I think even for that, it was more like a callback thing.
Exactly.
Definitely you get taken to these people's
and then
sometimes
you don't.
Then you call back.
Exactly. Then sometimes because of the pressure to just roll out and all, they don't test.
No, testing. That's another.
And when testing, you have to actually sit down, articulate use cases, all the possible use cases, and test under those scenarios. It is after then, and the app is able to meet the needs for each use cases. That is when you can now start thinking about rolling out. Even when rolling out, you don't just roll out like that. You have to have set of people to use. You have to
like canary deployment.
Yes,
I mentioned in one of my videos that I just released. Like, how would that? It's so obvious it wasn't tested.
It wasn't
because
tested,
the errors were just too there. In fact, sometimes the errors are code errors. Unidentified like really
exactly. So that's bad programming, bad coding practices.
Like you're not even catching errors professionally.
Exactly.
Code errors are spitting to the front end to the user. Like
and the user and even for you, you would find it difficult to trace what the issue is. Because if I am handling an error somewhere in the code and I put a customized message, most likely that message is only appearing at that part of that code,
not even to the public.
And it's not the main error is something else. But I'm displaying something friendly to the audience. So when I I can easily locate that message. If the user says that, I'm getting this particular message, I can easily go there and I can do my troubleshooting because I know that this error message that this customer is getting, this is where it is coming up. So I have a specific place to go to check. Yes. But, if errors, all those things are not properly handled, you have problems.
Rush. Everybody's trying to impress and everybody's trying to meet deadline.
Yes, exactly.
Do you still have any? No. Okay.
That's that.
That's a lot of information. That's a lot of wonderful information, right?